So I want to share another thought for about TCE and like I've kind of mentioned before, I would imagine from here on out, much of my my comments and my videos about trumpet thoughts are going to be related to TCE. I said that a few years ago about the Reinhardt stuff, which was true, and I still like the Reinhardt stuff, but now because I'm really focused on TCE, at least until I find that the next thing that I feel like helps me get better, you can probably expect much of my content to be TCE related. And in case you don't know, TCE stands for tongue controlled embouchure. So previous video that was about almost 20 minutes long, I kind of was talking through the whole journey and how I ended up here. But from here on out, I want to just kind of dive into some specifics. So let's talk about the first one. I think one of the first tenets that people think of when they think about TCE is they think about the equipment. And one thing that I think is really unique to players who use either the Super Chop system to play, which is a system that Jerry Callett developed in the 80s, or TCE, which he developed in the early 2000s, or even Master Super Chops, which he developed in the later 2000s, is that it's very common to see people using what is now considered a smaller diameter mouthpiece. And by smaller diameter, I would say 7C and smaller, okay? And I would say for most TCE / Super Chops players that a 7C would be on the larger size. A 7C is sort of our version of like a 1C, if you can believe that or not. And a 10.5C would be kind of like a 3C, and then anything smaller than that might be sort of like a 7C for traditional players, okay? Why is that? I'm not exactly sure, but I'm going to do my best to explain it. So what I found playing with this TCE approach, tongue-controlled embouchure approach, is that I guess because the tongue is between the teeth and focusing the air, the actual vibrating surface of the lips is so much smaller that I don't need a larger mouthpiece. And not only do I not need it, it's easier to play on these small mouthpieces. And like many of you, I was someone as a player that would have traditionally found it very difficult to play a small mouthpiece. I used to play all the large mouthpieces, probably like what many of you played. I mean, like for me, like a 1.5C was about kind of my standard. And then when I started trying to downsize, I downsized down to a 3C, which I think is really common. Ever since getting into the Reinhardt stuff, I started getting into about the 7C thing, because I started getting into like my natural embouchure and how I play. But then as I started getting into the TCE, I found myself like I found the 7C actually just sort of felt big. And when I say 7C, I just mean like the diameter of the 7, because like I'll use a different cup depth based on the type of music I'm playing. And I had a set of AR Resonance S diameter mouthpieces, which is like his 10.5C, 10.5, and I started switching to those, and then immediately that kind of helped. But then over time, I even started feeling like, gosh, these actually are starting to feel a little big. And so I'm currently playing his VS, which he says is like a Bach 15, which I don't even know what that is. I can't find any examples of a Bach 15. I should ask Antonio what the inner diameter is. He'll know what it is. He's such a superb craftsman. He'll know what the inner diameter of this mouthpiece is. But what I can tell you is that it's smaller than a 10.5C for sure. It's very, very small. And I think it's because with the tongue through my teeth and in contact with my lips, the vibrating surface of my lips is so much smaller that these smaller mouthpieces now feel bigger. And surprisingly enough, I think they sound better. There's more focus to the sound. So when I am playing this new VS diameter compared to even just the S diameter, I noticed that the sound just has more presence and clarity, and it just sounds better. I played it for the first time last night in a community band. I played the VS, very small diameter, with a C cup, and it sounded great. I mean, I had great clarity and projection. It's really sounded fine, and it was comfortable. And it was the whole 2-hour rehearsal. I didn't have any problems of like swelling up and not being able to play or any of that kind of stuff. So I just find that it's that much easier. And a lot of it is just because with that tongue forward, the resonance of that buzz that's happening here at this point is there's just so much more energy there with so much less input. And I think I may have talked about this before, but if we think about just normal lip buzzing with our tongue behind our teeth, I'm blowing a lot of air to get that sound out. Like I'm moving that much air. It's a lot of air to do it. And you're getting that kind of sound. And in that sound, you can hear a lot of air coming through that. There's a lot, and when you hear air in that buzz, that means it's not being converted to buzz. It's just air that's passing through. So that's not giving you anything for tone. But when the tongue's through my lips and I'm using the spit buzz, which is what we teach in TCE, the air flow rate is probably a quarter to maybe half of what it is when the tongue is pulled back. And you can see it, like with the same energy, I immediately was like an octave higher. I had to relax to get the buzz down, and then the buzz is louder. So it's less energy for at least the same output, maybe even more. And if I put that into the trumpet, you'll get this type of volume. And again, I'm using the microphone on my cell phone here, so it may not be the greatest tone. That is at least a double forte in volume. It's that loud. And I'm just going just like that. I'm like hardly playing, hardly blowing, and it's the loudest I would ever need to play. And my dog starts. That's it. So that's a large part of the attraction, and it's playing using that really small mouthpiece, and it doesn't matter which trumpet I'm on or whatever, but that is the VSAR, and but that's on his lead plus cup, so it's very so that's more of a commercial sound. If I put in a C cup, you'd hear it would be darker, it would have less of the high overtones, more of the low overtones. But that's the attraction for it for me is the efficiency. I'm getting more sound for far less effort. The pitch is better in tune. I talked about that in the last long video. But the Cliff Notes version is because the tongue stays forward right behind the lips, through the teeth behind the lips, the air doesn't slow down, so the pitch never falls. So the pitch stays true. And then the other thing that I really like about it, which I will admit to you, this is a bit of an acquired taste, is I love the sound of the articulation. The sound of the articulation has this pop to it. And when I'm spit buzzing into the mouthpiece, like that, it's like a rim shot. It's like a rim shot for every single note. And then if I just lighten up on that attack, then I can just get like a pop with it that's not quite as, not as quite as intense. But the fact that I can get that intensity without a lot of effort on my part is really nice. And there's certain things that we play where being able to have that crack for an attack, like if you're playing in a big band piece and you've got just an eighth note that has a house top over it, to be able to just go crack like that and just to have that note just like jump out of the horn and be short but also have lots of tone to it is very helpful, and lots of other pieces that comes useful with as well. The other thing with having the tongue through the teeth is just the projection. I may have spoken about this before too, but the projection is insane. I noticed in the rehearsal that I was playing in last night, and in the community band I played with last night, in the trumpet section, there's a wide mix of abilities for players, but there's some very fine players in that group. It's a good section of trumpet players. But I hear their sounds all around me while we're playing, better than I hear myself. But then in the room, I hear my sound bouncing back to me better than I can hear all of theirs. And I don't say any of that to say that like I'm better than them or anything like that. I don't mean that at all. But it's using TCE makes that happen. The sound has focus and has energy and projection, and it carries and cuts through. And I promise you, I'm not working any harder than what they are. So that's for me a big part of the attraction are those things: the sound, the efficiency, the ease of play. And now, what am I working on? What I'm now working on is accuracy, consistency. Can I do this all the time? I'm still having to learn where notes are at. Like I sometimes miss my entrances and stuff like that, but to be honest, I was kind of missing them before sometimes too. So, but I'm still trying to work those pieces together, and I'm trying to get comfortable enough with it where I can feel very confident that if I pull up a lead trumpet chart and I've got to start on an E above high C, that I can do that and not like pinch or basically mess it up. Can I hold it all together to play that? Those are all still the things I'm working on. But I've been doing this for maybe a month and a half, 2 months, or something like that. So it's still a work in progress, but I'm making great progress. So yeah, let me know what you thought. What you think? Have you tried any of this on your own? Have you tried TCE? Let me know what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear them. And as always, thanks for watching.